How's it going, everybody? So I'm here. I told you guys there was going to get a collab with Rudros to talk about all the cards from the most recent set, and we're getting it on like the eve of the actual full next set coming out. But we are going to get this collab, and I wanted to take this as kind of a fun opportunity to kind of look back at the set as a whole, what the last couple months have been, and kind of have some fun looking at some of these cards, see what I was right about, see what I was wrong about, and kind of get Travis caught up because currently we should hopefully, next weekend be recording some full set reviews talking about Opus 27, which it's a big
Woohoo!
set. There's some really cool stuff there. I'm really excited for that, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about some older sets. But first, how have you been, Travis? It's been a little while.
It has been. It has been. I definitely don't keep up with FF the way I used to when I was making my own content for it, but I still dabble in it here and there. I watch all your videos, and you keep me abreast of how you're doing in tournaments and things. And there are some cards on this list that I am aware of and that I've kept my eye on, and I got my fingers crossed that they did well because they sound so cool. Spoiler alerts, the 12 I'm so excited about. But yeah, I'm doing well. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's definitely been like a lot of fun. I missed having extra videos to listen to with you talking about it, but I hear you're doing pretty decently over there in Disneyland. So
I am, yeah. Yeah, well, Krana's doing well. I went to our version of, I guess it was our version of Materia Cup. It was a challenge last weekend in Milwaukee, so I've got some videos out about that if anyone cares about Lorcana. But if not, hey, we can talk about FF for you. No big deal.
all right, so yeah, what I was gonna do, I talked about this with Travis a little bit, but just to get kind of everybody in the audience caught up, I just want to kind of go. I've got Materia Hunter filtered by cards from the last set. I'm just gonna kind of go through these and any cards that kind of catch my eye. I'm gonna point them out to Travis and kind of talk about them. We're just gonna have a fun little discussion, see how this goes, and see how hopefully it'll be kind of a fun, enjoyable experience. Kind of get people caught up on things, and yeah, should be a lot of fun. Right off the bat, the first card that comes to point here is Azima. So I don't know how much you looked at the 12 as an archetype,
Oh, I
but
looked at them. They were so appealing to me. One, I loved those raids from Endwalker. The 12 were kind of always present in 14 story if you've been playing it from the beginning. And so it was so cool to finally face them and fight them and meet them. And these cards just seemed cool, kind of like Soiree 2.0 in a way, but like you got to tell me these things ended up being cool because I know one of your big fears, I think, from your set reviews, if I'm remembering correctly, is that there wasn't really a color fixer. Like they just seemed kind of clunky in the sense of all the colors they were in, but their effects seem so cool, especially I think it's Ralgar there that had like the big payoff, right? So tell me the 12 made some sort of waves.
so it was Hello Knight. It's the really big payoff for the
Hello Knight
archetype.
was the one. Okay.
And they do have a color fixer, but the thing is their color fixing comes from ice and wind, which is not really the
Mm,
like those aren't the generic colors. It's not like Earth where it's like cool, I get to throw Tyros in or anything like that to
you got
really do it.
Toro and yeah, all those.
So I mean, they definitely copied a bit of Soiree's homework for sure with these. Like, and it's kind of funny because like you have like the early game ones, which are like the Limlin, Menfina, Nalthal, Bayergot, and they have the ones that are clearly meant to be played kind of later on once you kind of get this critical mass of them. And um,
I
what?
love the parts is there.
Yeah, Materia Hunter has a little Easter egg where if you search any job, it'll always show Bart's because Bart's has all the jobs. But
That's funny.
so a couple things have happened with these. Number one is Naimea is actually seeing generic play.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
she's just EX burst, 3 CP backup, draw a card when she enters play.
Yeah. Can't
Um,
complain about that.
so she's kind of almost in the same slots as like one of your old spoilers, Hilda. She's actually seeing some generic play.
Yeah.
As far as standard constructed goes, the thing that ended up kind of striking me with these is they're really clunky. They're really hard sometimes. But
Yeah.
what they do have that Soiree never has is Soiree did like Brave Exvius did not have a lot of like good generic support, right? Like you think about it, it's like
Yeah.
they would play like Axstar, where like on damage I think 3 it would search one of them would be like the big like
Mhm.
payoff. Nothing on the same level as what Hien does with these guys. Giving
Sure.
all
Yeah.
of them
Yeah.
the
Oh
ability
my
to
gosh. That
attack
14
twice is
support.
crazy. And like even stuff like Ishtola, you can kind of give them haste or first strike. So like that's been the big difference for them. Now they're kind of on fringes of play right now in constructed. It really is hard to get that critical mass of them. They're also the best deck in L3 by a mile. Um,
Oh,
So like
sure. I
so
get
in
it.
Japan, these things like especially because L3 actually had to ban a soldier to try to like rein in soldiers a bit from being the best deck by far. They ended up kind of taking over as like the best thing you can be doing in that format. Um,
Did they use them with all six colors, or did they like try to focus them down to like two or three?
if you're playing these because you need so many of them for Holone, you got to have six of them in play for Holone to work.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
you just have to play all of them except for usually you would see for constructed list Oshan and Nofika would get trimmed usually. You'd
Mm,
see like no Oshans and like two Nofikas is kind of what you would see. But you would see like
gotcha.
you'd have to like run three as of just about everything else. But I mean, you look at it like this is two hasty forwards right here that when you combine them with Tien and Azima and Halone are on attack triggers even, so like they do their thing
Yeah.
when they attack, and being able to attack twice, like it's so wild when you actually go off with this deck sometimes.
Yeah. When I read
Um,
Halone, I was like, well, that's clearly one of the payoffs. Like, holy moly, that card does a lot for an ice card.
yeah, I would say right now it's like in kind of that same slot as like you would see almost like what's a good compare? You know, like how like dragoons were always like pseudo playable for like a long time, but
Yeah.
like never like super competitive. They're kind of in a similar
Yeah.
slot. They do
Gotcha.
just kind of
Okay.
play like a better soiree for the most part though,
Nice.
or like a modern day soiree. Elwyn, this is I mentioned this when I was talking to you. Generic fire searcher. Don't want to talk about it too much. It's pretty clear this was going to be good from the first time we saw it. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure you saw this Clive. I'm curious what you think of this Clive when you read it.
Let's see. Well, I know the last Clive was really good. Was he 24 or 25?
24.
He was 24. Yeah, and I remember when we called it, it was one of the few times I tapped into the aggressive mentality of FF players. I was like, man, if you just dump your hand turn one, you play this guy, you get your cards back. So let's see. He obviously primes, gains all the special abilities of the Jive icon you own removed from the game. I can't imagine how relevant that would be. Oh, it's only the special abilities too, huh? Choose a card from either player's break zone, remove it. I mean, it's card draw. That's not bad. I can't imagine this is better than the other Clive, unless you just wanted like an overload of Clives, because obviously you could then use him for specials. So I mean, he seems solid, but I can't imagine he's better than the other one, right?
This is one of the most important cards from this set. I would
Really?
say like one of the defining cards of the set has actually been this Clive, and it's actually like everything about the card. He is worse than the other Clive in a deck like Knights that doesn't get backups down. But for a lot of decks that are getting backups down, this is just kind of effectively copies 4, 5, and 6 of Clive, and now and actually having specials is relevant. What you'll see a lot of good, especially mono fire. I've seen as many as 12 Clives, like 12 Clives and Ifrits in the same deck.
Oh wow.
But they'll remove their own Ifrit so that he has Hellfire, and you can go without having to prime him. You can still discard another Clive to himself to get the 10k ping off with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, there's only a couple specials for it. There's the old Ifrit, there's a new Shiva, new Phoenix, and then the old Bahamut and the old Odin have specials technically, but that's it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I don't know all the specials for all the
Uh,
icons.
yeah, the first time I read it, though, I read it gains all the abilities, and my eyes lit up. I was like, "There's no way they can print that."
Well, yeah,
But
that's what I thought. I was like, well, he just becomes the big Ephraim, but no, if it's specifically his special abilities.
yeah, but like it's been like what you'll see usually in like kind of mid range decks that are like playing a good number of Clives. You'll see like a 2-2 split. You'll see two of this Clive and two of the old Clive. Is a really common thing you'll see.
Gotcha. Okay.
So moving on through, we have our first legend here with Joshua. Um, Curious what you think of this. It's a pretty simple card to read the text of.
So I remember the Phoenix being really good, at least in 24, or at least it read really well. I don't know how much play it ended up seeing. Enters the field, forward opponent controls 2,000 damage for each job icon in your break zone, and or removed from the game. So that's kind of nice too, because it's essentially Mist Dragon proof, right? Like even if they Mist Dragon it on the stack, it's just gonna count all those icons that you hit them with. So I'm not in touch enough to know how many icons a deck runs, but I would imagine this has got to be hitting for like minimum 6,000, if not 8,000. And then the priming cost is so low. So this seems very strong, but I'm also not 100% sure how strong the Phoenix was. I just remember it read very well.
The previous Phoenix didn't see a ton of play. Like it's an okay card, but like all it really can do is play like Farian and Zidane from Break Zone. That's like really the only like good
Oh,
targets
okay.
for it. So Joshua's a card that I think didn't get a lot of excitement because he just reads really basic, and it seems like it's kind
Yeah,
of slow. Like 3 CP kill a guy doesn't seem crazy. The new Phoenix is really relevant. We can go scroll to that real quick.
sure.
Um, and something really neat about Joshua is the old Joshua was 3 fire pips to prime, so it's actually like kind of difficult to prime without like a Torgal on field or outside of mono fire. This Joshua
Mhm.
has just the priming cost of just the fire, which helps a lot. And the new Phoenix is when Joshua primes into it, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and add 2 fire cards or 2 Cat 16 cards from them to your hand. So now you can
Oh,
kind of
wow.
like
And it says
have this.
cards, so they can even be summons.
Yeah, so it picks up Amaterasu, helps you dig for action. The real best friend for Joshua, though, has been Axstar. This is like the best thing ever to play with Axstar. Because
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
it kind of rounds up the damage from Axstar, and then you prime it, you find your Amaterasu. Now you have Axstar plus plus Phoenix plus Amaterasu, and that's been like a really big power play this set. So this
That's
card
really cool.
wasn't like super hyped outside of the fact it was a legend. I think it was even a card of the week, and people were like, "The art's neat, but it's nothing crazy." But he's actually been a lot better than I think people really expected, which is kind of really cool.
Nice.
Moving on, we have Naji, generic warrior backup searcher, or like warrior forward searcher. Crazy strong card, obviously, with Tyvis still being one of the best cards in the game.
Yeah. And with a burst to boot.
Mm-hmm. Ferris was our other fire legend. I don't know if you've read this card yet.
Let's see. Enters a field. Search for a card named Lena. Add it to your hand. Gain the attack phase during each of your turns. You may play one fire or water forward of cost equal to a lesser number of backups. Oh, okay. And there's no restriction on that. It doesn't. Okay. Wow. So I kind of have a bit of a spoiler on this because I know you played one of these in your list because I saw your like Continentals deck. So you obviously must think it's good. You're not going to take a card like this to Nationals, but it's an EX burst. It's another Ferris. It searches any Lena, and then that's a continuous trigger. And we know how good Refia is if it can do that turn after turn. Like the idea that you could just free play, and that Warrior of Light deck wants to ramp out anyway. And of course, this counts multi-element, right? You could play Warrior Light for free off of this. Granted, I guess you don't get the cast trigger if you were to do that, but still. So I'm assuming this has to be good because you took some in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is the best Ferris has ever looked. I think.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
the dragon behind her. That looks sick.
yeah, Sildra behind her is so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say that she's seen a little bit of play. You'll usually see her as a one of in Refia decks. She kind of ends up being this like, one of the big problems with Refia sometimes is your opponent will like put you on 2 and never really give you a chance before they kill you. And Ferris kind of
Yeah.
gives you like this proactive play in like slower games your opponent refuses to damage you. Has a burst that searches Lena, which is obviously fantastic. And then it's funny that like play it forward. I've had a lot of times where I would go to combat and just wouldn't have anything to play with her. But like sometimes you play like the Terra from a couple sets ago. You play like
Mhm.
the I've played Cloud from last set with her, and it feels absurdly strong when you get to like play something really strong with her.
Oh, I
Uh,
bet. You know, this is the kind of card too that I would like when I was still playing because you know how often I would brick. And I was like, hey, at least turn one Ferris, go find my Lena backup. And now I've at least guaranteed I got a backup. Like, doesn't seem awful to me.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna hold off on Fang a little bit. Fang is a crazy card, but I feel like probably the most important card to talk about with 13 is going to be probably the Lightning or the Vanille.
Okay.
Or like probably we can come back to Fang when we talk about Vanille anyway. Um, we should, I guess, we could mention real quick the summons. These are a full cycle that all have an alternate casting cost on your turn, where you could just dole 2 fire forwards to cast them. The
That's right. I
Phoenix one
remember
is kind
seeing
of
these.
a weird change to like the old Phoenix, the 4 cost one, where like it's not, you can't do it on your opponent's turn, and the forward comes in dull, but hasn't seen a lot of play. Again, the biggest issue is there are not really just the targets for this card. The 2 cost fire
Yeah.
forwards that are like relevant, like especially like Zidane and Furion, which are like the 2 best ones. You don't really want them coming in to play dull. Like you need them to be able to attack.
Right.
Um, there's my spoiler in the Behemoth.
I remember him.
All right, let's go into Ice. Ice, I think, actually had a pretty decent set. Let's talk first. We got to talk about Sid Waff.
Oh, dude, I was so excited when I saw this card. I almost was like, maybe I should come back and make an FF video just to talk about Sid Wolf. Like, But oh, I wish I had this card back when I was still playing. If anyone knew me back, I complained about EX Burst so much, and now a way to hey, I get your. How many times, Ghoul, did I have? Okay, I got your hand empty. I attack. Oops, you found the Tyro. You found the Star Sybil. You go search your Shantoto. But then Sid Wolf now would say, actually, you can go get it, and then you got to get rid of it. Like, tell me this card was awesome.
Let me give you a list of bursts that I've seen declined with Sid Waff on field.
Please do.
I have seen Thornton declined. I have seen Tyra declined. 9 CP Odin. 6 cost Leviathan. King Tycoon. Kusith. I think literally every single card with a burst I have seen like this card might as well say your opponent's EX burst don't trigger.
Don't trigger, right? Yeah.
It's
Well,
that
and I would
debilitating.
imagine because it's the random, right? Like you can't take if you've got some key card in hand that you need, you can't take the risk that that's going to get thrown away.
The only time you would do it is if you're desperate. It's like my hand has nothing good. I
Yeah.
might as well take a chance that like they'll discard one of the bad 3 cards in my hand. And I'll get to keep the thing I search. Um,
Great art too. I love Celis and the Moogles sit there peeking around the bookcases.
I would say this has been one of the defining cards of the set. It's like the like Knights have adopted it as well. It's like pushed Knights into like being probably the best deck in the game status because like how do you deal with Knights normally? Well, you burst out. Like they're gonna have to hit you 7 times. You
Right.
take a couple of damage. A couple of those damage will find you something to do. Sidwolf turns that whole game plan off. It's absurdly strong.
Yeah. Took them a lot of sets, but I'm glad to see them printing more and more cards that interact with the experts.
Going on down. We have our 2 ice legends here in this next row. We have Charlotte and Jill. Let's start with talking about Charlotte. Why don't you take a look at her real quick?
Yeah, because I mean, you know how much I loved old Charlotte. Like that was my girl. That was Lastwell's partner, baby. So you can only pay ICP. Chosen by opponent summons your ability. They either have to discard or you cancel when any character enter it. Oh wow, that's kind of interesting. I remember reading this one. I remember looking at this in the previews, and I thought it sounded so darn cool. I can't imagine it goes into a Knights list because it can't be pulled off Corella. It has to be paid with ICP. I guess Ramza could cheat it in, so maybe you do it with that. Although the old Charlotte was really good at protecting stuff. I love these effects, but I also wouldn't be surprised if this was one of those like, man, it sounds so good, but in practice it just doesn't work out the way you think they are. But I especially love the idea that anything they play like instantly gets frozen and just falls over. That's so cool. So tell me how it performed because I really love the way it reads.
So this card, if it goes unchecked early, is completely debilitating. Like if you think about
Mm,
like the play pattern against this card, let's say you play a backup against Charlotte. You
yeah,
don't get to untap that backup for 2 turns. Like it's
that's
brutal
huge.
if you can't deal with her. And there's not a ton of efficient ways of handling her too, if you think about it. Like, she's pretty big and that like discard a card cost on it means that like even if they kill her as efficiently as possible, they do usually go down. It's a
Yeah.
pretty even trade usually, like at worst. However, she's not seen a ton of play. She's seen a little bit of experimentation in Knights, as you mentioned. Ramza can revive her, so it kind of gives you a situation where like what you can do is you can go like an early Corilla, warp a Ramza, and then if like the Corilla
Mm,
doesn't die, Ramza now has something like really debilitating to bring back, right, and kind of like wins the
yeah.
game. Um, but like she's not super common in that deck, I would say, especially with the new starter Charlotte being printed. I would say that she's kind of really starting to fall out there. And starter Charlotte's gotten 3 crazy cards, by the way.
Yeah, they seem to really love that character.
Um, so the other thing is mono ice decks, and it's kind of an interesting question of like, do you play Charlotte in mono ice, and how many? I've seen as many as 3. I've seen mono ice decks that don't play her at all. If you play her, you really want to get her down early is kind of the thing because like if she's only hitting forward, she's a
Yeah.
lot less useful. And but hitting backups, you can completely stunt your opponent's ability to grow. But again, if they have an easy way of getting rid of her, then you kind of don't really win out in that trade, right? And like a lot of times those decks are kind of mid range or slow. It's a bit of a gamble to actually like play Charlotte early. Sometimes it feels like so. She's
Yeah.
definitely
Well, you
good.
you are still ultimately paying 5 for nothing, right? Like she doesn't do anything the turn you play her. She then requires kind of your opponents to do stuff to make her worth it.
Yeah. I would be very curious to see how she's going to age. I could see this card being a card that gets better with time too, depending on what ends up
Mhm.
happening. Or I could see her kind of falling out of favor as well. Mono Ice, I think, actually has been pretty good this set in general. Our next legend, we have Jill. Probably worth looking at the Shiva above her as well. But we'll start with the Jill.
Jill, and this is our other ice legend. So prime cost of 3. Choose up to the same number of characters, icons, or breaks, and or you own removed from the game. Just dull, no freeze. On your turns, pay an ice. When you do, choose a dull for break. Oh wow, a full break. Interesting. So let's see. So you can play her, essentially dull something, go to attack phase, pay the extra one. So she essentially costs 4 and break it. That seems pretty solid. I don't know how I don't know how finicky it is to like get stuff in the break zone ahead of time, but even then, even if she doesn't dull, you can just pay her, go right to attack phase. If they don't have an answer, you just pay one to pick something off. And in the past, Ice has really struggled with removal, so I imagine this has got to be good, right?
Yeah, so there's other stuff to realize as well is the previous Shiva broke 2 dull forwards when Jill primed into her. So it's like
Oh,
very
okay.
reasonable to go like Jill, dull 3 things, go to combat, pay 1, kill that, primer, kill those 2. Your opponent discards a card at the end of the turn. Um, and then the new Shiva, if you prime a Jill into her, just freezes all the characters your opponent controls. It's just a full
Yeah.
board wide freeze. And all of those are like really good. And it's kind of this really neat modal utility now is that like Jill has like 3 things she can do. I've played Jill and not primed her with the understanding that my opponent can't really like do anything until they get rid of her. Like if they attack, well, I'm just going to go to combat, pay 1 ice, and kill the thing that attacked now. So they can't
Yeah.
really like do anything there. I've had opponents go super wide on me, and I go Jill, dull everything, kill that, prime, kill those 2, and then also it's like okay, play Jill. I'm against a control matchup. I need 1 turn to win. I'm gonna dull your backups with Jill, and then I'm gonna prime her to freeze everything.
Remind me, can you prime during the combat phase, or is it only a main phase effect?
Only during the main phase.
Okay, so you would go to attack phase, pay the 1, break something, exit. When you exit the attack phase, then you could primer and then do the Shiva effect.
Yeah. The biggest
Gotcha. Okay.
comparison I can give is like to me, she feels like an upgrade to the Stola hero, the Opus 21 one that like got haste based on the number of cards
Yeah.
in your opponent's hand. Um,
Yeah, and
the,
did damage based on the cards, right?
yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. Jill only hits dull forwards and like has like a little bit of a maintenance cost on her. The Ishtola would struggle to kill things sometimes and had to attack. So you kind of have like a bit of a difference there. But this Jill honestly is like my favorite card of the whole set. Like she's so good and proven to be really powerful for me at
Nice.
least. Moving along, let's talk a little bit about Physalis and Star Sibyl. I think these are just 2 really interesting cards.
Yeah, Physalis, I see they haven't given up on warp. They're trying to you play a forward of so the forward you play has to have warp as well. It has to have that keyword.
Yeah,
So you essentially you get to cheat whatever warp cost they have or whatever cost they have. You obviously don't have to pay a full 5. Her warp is very short at least. So you could do this turn 1, discard a single card, bring her in, and now you're threatening to bring in whatever else. Like I don't know what all the powerful warp effects in the game. I guess no, she wouldn't hit Theodore, right? Because it's 5
no,
or
no,
less,
no.
so she couldn't bring him
Thank
in.
goodness she can't. Well, even there though, like they don't get an effect that only triggers on warp too. So like
Oh, that's
Tador would.
true. Yeah, yeah, because he has to come in from where. Yeah, so I'm not sure what the targets are for this currently, but the effect is pretty unique and cool.
Yeah, I would say this is the set that tried to fix warp and like print some really cool warp support. Physalis is one of the coolest cards in the game. I've actually messed with her in
Mm.
just a mono ice shell. I don't know if you remember when Warp first came out. They printed the Wind Charlotta that just says "search for a card." This
Yeah,
plays
I
that for
remember.
free. So you go 2 for
Oh yeah,
Physalis, play this, bring in the Charlotta. Charlotta says go find any card. You have 2 forwards, an 8K and a 5K, and then any card in your deck for a 2 CP cost. That's like pretty good.
yeah, absolutely.
Really cool. Hasn't seen a lot of play so far. And then Star Sybil. Why don't you take a look at this as well?
I love no. This one I know. This is one of the ones I was keyed into because this is such a Travis card. Like I would love to. Oh, I'm gonna get Were I in the backup line. I'll get Star Sybil, Sid Waff. What was and then the ice one? Yeah, like Kafka. Like I would have loved a card like this, but I also know from experience that as cool as this is one of those cards that either it's going to be completely oppressive and it's going to feel so bad for your opponent, or they don't interact in that particular way, and then so it just does nothing, which was I'm guessing how it ended up.
Yeah, it hasn't really seen any play. It is one of those cards I like. I wonder. It's like I don't think they could print that like at 2 costs. This would be the best card in the game.
Yeah, but
Um,
4 is a lot.
4 is a lot, so like it has to proc twice to be really good. It's just like it's a little bit slow and inconsistent. I wonder at 3 if it would have seen play. Like it would have still been annoying. Also notably, like you can play this for 2 if you have the old wind backup in play, the Simulafina.
Yeah, the Simulafina, yeah.
But like again, Ice Wind isn't really a deck, and there's not like an Ice Wind mid range deck that like wants to like do that. So it's just a really interesting card. It's funny. It really didn't come out very strong, but a really weird effect. I do wonder again if this is going to be a card that ages well potentially at some point.
Yeah, I wonder if they could have slapped on like the summon text too, like, hey, but if it's chosen by a summon, you get to dull freeze something. So that way you kind of always get value out of it. I don't know.
Uh,
Maybe that would have been too strong.
Moving into Wind, we have our first Wind Legend in Ash. Why don't you go ahead and take a look?
Draw 3 more Cat 12. Cost. Okay, so she only costs 2 if you have Cat 12. Forwards other than Ash gain 2K. Pretty good. That's kind of reminiscent of Opus 11 Tifa. Dull any active 12 character. Choose a forward during this turn. The next damage dealt to it is reduced by 2. Oh, okay. And it doesn't have the dull symbol, so essentially she can protect herself or any. I know how obnoxious Sky Pirates was with that with the whole backup set. So I think this card reads really well. The question then just becomes, what does Category 12 look like right now? Is it worth running? Is it worth investing this many characters into it? But especially if your opponent has damage based removal, I can see that 2K becoming very, very annoying. And I know from experience too how strong it is to have cards that they have an effect you don't have to pay for. You know, you're not paying CP into that. You're just, oh, I just turned it sideways. So if Cat 12 is worth running, I would imagine this is pretty good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions when this card was first revealed. One of the big questions is this is a card that doesn't do anything effectively, right? You know, you play
Yeah.
her and she's just a big 9K. You know, sure she makes your forwards kind of big and gives them protection, but like, how relevant is that in the year 2025? And it turns out it's pretty decent still.
I'm
um,
assuming there's something worth protecting.
yeah, there is. I don't know if you remember in Opus 24, there was the Bosch legend that says if you had 2 Cat
Yes.
12 characters, the cost was reduced. He costs only 2. So you kind of get this like little chain going of Cat 12, Cat 12, Bosch, Ash, and they like the Bosch and the Ash both cost 2. Bosch draws a card at the start of combat, and then Ash protects your whole field. It's actually one of the best ways of playing kind of a I've seen it in like a tricolor deck where you're playing like wind, lightning, and earth, and also there's a version of it that plays only like mostly just wind cards and plays just enough earth to splash the Bosch.
The Fran? Or okay, I didn't know if the Fran was still
Well,
relevant.
Fran's still run because probably you just need enough earth cards to do it. But like what it's doing is it's trying to get enough backups where it can do Fina. So it also has Fina as protection for everything too, and you just build
Oh,
this
okay.
huge field, and then you just Ace LB to wipe the field and kill your opponent.
Yeah.
And it's been a really good deck. Your old friend Eureka has been like one of the big innovators on that deck so far.
That's cool. Well, yeah, and I like that you have to use a Cat 12 to pay for it, but you don't have to target a Cat 12. You can choose any forward. So, like you said, if you have a an ace, you could protect him with this as well.
Yeah, it's a
It's
very
also any damage, so you could like protect stuff from Amaterasu. That's kind of cool.
yeah from any type of damage, any combat damage as well. Sometimes you'll see like other than by combat run this type of effect, and like
Yeah.
2K buff keeps a lot of stuff outside of a Mont range. Like it's good text. Uh, Moving on, let's go through a little bit here. We have Bart's here. This is our other Wind Legend. This is also the signature card of the set, the really fancy chase card.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, I didn't realize he cost 8. Pay. Oh, we're going back to the crystals. Pay 3. Hold on. You can pay instead of. Oh, okay. So you can pay 3 crystals instead of 8. Deal the top 2 cards of your deck. Oh wow. So you can't whiff on this. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's even up to. So guarantee. So at minimum, you're drawing 2, but obviously, if it works better for you, you can play the character, and it's character. So it can be a monster, can be backup, can be a forward. That's interesting. That's cool, and I love that art. I don't know how relevant crystals are these days, so I feel like I can't comment on that. Obviously, not having to pay a full 8 for this, that's very strong. He's gonna survive through an Amaterasu. Like, wow, that's such a strong entry effect. So, yeah, I guess I would imagine the crystals matter pretty heavily. I can't imagine you still would want to pay 8 for this. Am I right on that?
I have never seen 8 paid for Barts.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I've seen a lot of this card. So the biggest thing is this is almost single-handedly reinvigorated a new build of Gigawall.
Really?
Playing those old crystal, those janky crystal backups, the ones that if you have enough of them in play,
Oh
they don't draw a card.
yeah.
You try to get a couple of those, and then there's a undead princess this set that makes a crystal. She's a 3-cost ice forward, and
Hmm.
she's a Sarah that makes a crystal basically. So your opponent discards, you make a crystal. And you get those 3 crystals, and Bart's becomes kind of this like second push. Like your opponent like wipes your first board, and you go, cool. As I've been playing, I've been amassing these 3 crystals. Here's a Bart's real quick. We're gonna try to rebuild the board real quick, find that Gilgamesh, try to end the game quickly. Um,
God, and it's such a good effect. Yeah, you play the best 3 costs, and then you just get the other one to hand. Almost every other effect like this, like that card would go to the break zone or go back into the deck.
yeah. Very very cool, very neat card. Seen a lot of play actually.
Cool.
I guess we'll talk about Fina real quick as well. This is the card I was really excited for. I haven't had a chance to do too much with her, which I guess is a little bit of a spoiler for the card, but go ahead and take a look
I
at her.
love the art. Let's see. Fina usually gets really good cards, so let's see what this one is. Your warp cost can be paid with CP of any element. Well, I guess that's okay. Some of those warp costs are kind of pricey. When Fina enters the field, search for a card with warp. Okay, so it's more warp support. Choose a card removed from the game, remove a warp counter from it. Okay, so it boosts warp. Um, I mean, I like the design of it. I always said I wish they had supported warp more. It's still, at least when I left the game, warp was very slow. So I don't know if this is going to fix that because this card also is still slow, right? Because it has to wait a whole turn before it starts cycling. I don't know how relevant the CP of any element is. I guess if you're doing some like kind of fun warp deck, it essentially lets you just not have to worry about all those specific costs. Yeah, it's cool design. I really love this art, but I don't know. I still don't believe in warp. So unless something crazy has happened, I'm not a warp believer.
So I don't I do think it's kind of under experimented with. This card is very strong, I think, just innately. If you think about like a lot of warp cards, there's a lot of ones that you don't even think about that like have really awkward warp costs. Thinking of like the
Mhm.
Zac that even came out, like the Fire Lightning Zac. The warp cost on it was like 1 fire pip, 1 lightning pip. That's like really hard to
Yeah, that's
pay.
true.
Another one that like comes to mind, like you can with this you could search Fina and then warp or not Fina, search Prish, the Ice Earth Legend Prish, and
Mm-hmm.
like now you don't have to worry about trying to find an Ice and an Earth CP to pay for it, right? Like
That's a good point.
so, like every line of text in this card is really strong. You think about like in enabling remove a warp counter. Now you can really accelerate those warps for some of the longer ones. That's really important. Think of a card like Golbez. It's another way of like both getting the Golbez. Golbez actually warping Golbez could be difficult because the deck didn't play enough lightning cards sometimes, and then like removing a
Yeah.
warp counter from Golbez plays an Archfiend. So I think this card is really cool. Probably now that I'm still uh, waiting for the next set to be fully released and everything, and I might mess
Yeah.
with Warp a little bit more now. I do think this deck is really cool and really fun. Um,
Neat. I love the art. I'm such a fan of like motion coming at you on a card, so the fact that she's reaching out like
it
that
looks
just really appeals to
so good
me.
in foil too, by the way.
Sweet.
Moving
I
along.
just saw that Dragoon. I was like, why is this? Is this like the eighth time we've got this?
Yeah. It's really funny. They actually so something annoying about this set, at least for limited, is almost every element has like 6 backups. Because they had to reprint the crystal standard units again to keep them in L3.
Oh, okay.
So when you draft this set, you have to like really prioritize forwards because you could like look at this. Like this is 4 backups in wind in a row.
That's true. Yeah. Wow.
Here's a fifth. Here's a sixth. This is 6, 7 backups in wind, 8 backups in
Holy
wind.
moly.
So like if you want to play wind, you got to really like prioritize all these like low rarity forwards. So if you don't find them, you don't really get to do anything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So like it sucks that they had to print. They really kind of messed up the limited format of the set a little bit. Like it's actually I think a decently fun limited format, but like when you're drafting, you really have to find your forwards because if you don't find them, you're going to be stuck with like a million backups. It's a very weird draft set for that.
Yeah. Well, and like I've heard you say multiple times over your videos, like guys, just make these like okay, they're standard legal throughout all sets. Like you don't have to keep reprinting these crystal guys over and over again.
Yeah, like deep. Like I remember like early on when these crystal cards were really, the crystal pack was really playable. Like a foil geomancer was actually worth something, or like a foil samurai was like
Mm.
actually worth something. But because they've been reprinted now, this is their what was it? It was 5, 9. Like they've been reprinted 4 or 5 times now. They're just not worth anything. Like the foils are
Yeah.
just not fun to open. Even it feels really bad to open a pack and get one. All right, moving along. Let's go into our Earth. Probably the two Earth legends are probably worth talking about: the Vanille and the Vincent. Let's go ahead and take a look at these.
Vanille. Ooh, only one cost, 4K. When Vanille's put in the field of break zone, you can remove her from the game. When you do, choose a category 13 forward in your break zone, add it to your hand. Okay. So essentially it gives you a little extra on death cycle. Reveal a top card of your deck. If it's a category 13 card, add it to your hand. Interesting. Obviously insane in title. Um I like that I like the design of this in that obviously she has to wait a turn to use that dull effect, but even if she's taken out before then, she still gets some kind of value. It's not just like, okay, well, granted, you only paid one anyway, so maybe you don't care about that. I
But
mean,
it's
in a
like
13 build, that sounds super strong because you now have this card that says, hey, I know I'm only 4K, but you have to spend some sort of removal on me, or I'm going to keep accruing value. And also, I only paid one anyway. So, what kind of removal do you spend to still come out ahead? Like, assuming a 13 build is worth running, like, this has to be very good, isn't it?
so also of note, she's Earth, which is kind of annoying for 13. If you look at
True.
Fang, what Fang does is Fang searches for a Lassie and reduces the cost by 1, and does not say the cost can't
Oh.
become 0.
Yeah, I didn't get to read the Fang spec there, Fire. During this turn, okay, so she essentially you can search out Vanille and instantly play her, and you don't even have to worry about the colors then, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because you just okay, she's just a free Earth card, and then she makes Bahamut's cheaper too, of course, because that's what Fang does. Okay, well, I mean that just makes it sound even better then if you can jam her in whatever the popular 13 build is, and then you don't even have to worry about the Earth element. Like, surely this is good then, right?
She's my favorite 13 card of the set. I've done a lot of testing with 13, and the Fang Vanille thing, it's like playing Layla Viking, but you play the Viking from the deck. Is how I was describing it to people. And yeah, you kind of end up in the situation where the opponent really has to kill the Vanille, but like they don't really want to. Like you put so little into putting her into play. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, and when she dies, you pick up whatever you pick up the next best card in your breaks anyway. You pick up the Fang again to do it again, or you pick up Lightning, right? And like now you have this like really awkward protection. But again, like if you have enough 13 cards in your deck, it's like a 2/3 chance to draw an extra card every turn, which is, as we know with Alice, that's really strong, obviously.
Yeah.
The downside is that 13 really has not had a very good set.
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of experimentation with it. Usually you'll see this Vanille played, but a lot of times they'll play her partly as special fodder for the other one that also enables you to do some fun stuff in LB. And maybe in the right matchup you'll play her off of an early Fang. But I do think this card is good. I just think that like a little bit too restrictive in what she can actually do to be like a super powerful card. She does make Fang really like a kind of a hidden legend, like an extra legend in fire out of nowhere.
Yeah, I could see that.
Go ahead and take a quick look at Vincent real quick. This is our box topper for
Yeah,
the set as
Vincent
well.
I'm aware of because so one of my best buddies, Vincent is his favorite character in Final Fantasy, and unfortunately Vincent's never really had like, wow, what a great Vincent card. Like if you think of all the FF7 decks over the years, very rarely are they around a Vincent. And I have to imagine this one continues the same trend because I feel like I think the same thing now when I read it when I first saw it. It was like, well, I mean, I guess if you're against Giga Wall, it's incredible, or if you know you're against a deck it hits, it's probably great. I would imagine it's. See, I don't know how good it is against even like knights. Like, okay, it's gonna hit the last well and such, but it won't hit the Rams. It won't hit the Corilla. Won't hit the Garland. The new Beatrix limit break. So I mean, I like him. I've always liked that design of like, hey, it's this punishment every time you pick me. So he's all about, I'm just gonna keep blasting stuff. But 7 for that, I don't know. In the right matchup, I'm sure he's obnoxious, and you're like, I hate this card. But I also could see him just being like, he just doesn't do anything.
He kind of plays like a side grade to Shadow Lord. Like depending on the matchup you're playing.
Okay.
He is really good into like Knights and Gigawall, as you mentioned. You kind of wipe out all the stuff without targeting against Gigawall while leaving the Gigawall in play. Against Knights, yeah, he doesn't kill the Rams, he doesn't kill the Corella, but like being a first strike 9K is really annoying. Um,
Mm.
like he's just like a really big body, and like even if like the Ramsa tries to kill him, he's gonna kill the Ramsa right back for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, he'll get the punishment. That's a good point.
The one thing that is funny with this card is I've accidentally kind of found my way around him. I forget what I played, but I played a backup that targeted him. And my opponent goes, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna kill this forward." It's like he doesn't have a revenge trigger when he's chosen by a backup. It's a forward or a
Oh yeah, it's got
summon.
to be a forward's ability. Okay, yeah, or a summon.
Because he deals the damage to only the forward that chooses him for some reason.
Yeah,
Um, so he's been okay. He shows up in a lot of Chaos Arc decks. He shows up as a one of in a lot of like mono Earth lists. He does have actually some stiff competition. The old Theatrhythm backup actually is a pretty good card at handling knights as well.
yeah, that's the one
And
that does 5K on entry, right?
yeah, just kind of ping off a Laswell. And
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where it's like that effect is pretty hard to replace. And like Vincent, you could just play Shadow Lord a lot of the time and do
Mm.
relatively similarly. But because Gigawall's made such a resurgence, Vincent's a better way of handling Gigawall because a lot of times against Gigawall they'll have Warrior of Light, Zeromus, Gilgamesh in play. It's like which one, like what job do you call, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's the most printed box topper of all time. If you want to get some fun, nice full arts for your friend, it's probably very cheap. But yeah, he's like a decent little one of in some lists. Let's talk about Ico. Ico is the pre-release promo for the set.
Summoner enters the field, choose 4 summons in your break zone, put them on the top of your deck in any order, shuffle your deck, and reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Cast up to 1 summon among them without paying the cost and put the rest of the cards in the break zone. Okay. So some deck reshuffling. Obviously you have to shuffle first, so it's so putting them on the top doesn't really matter. I mean, casting a summon for free is always pretty good. Especially, man, imagine if you get like Arc off of this or Leviathan EX 6 cost, like any of those high cost ones, you're just gonna feel like Candyland. However, um, obviously you have to have 4 in your break zone in the first place to even use it. Although usually summon heavy decks don't have too much trouble getting this, so I would imagine this reads very high rolly to me. So I would imagine it's not consistent, but it's pretty crazy when it does go off, and then it's obviously lackluster if it doesn't.
So I would say Jill is my favorite card of the set. I would say this is my second favorite card of the set. Um,
This does read like a very U card.
yeah, summons control deck Ghoul. Nah, never would go together.
No, never.
So what this deck, what I found with this card is it's a great one of in Earth Water Chaos Arc. Um,
Okay.
and what you do with it, so for something that's kind of neat is, like when you play like a deck with like, you got like the 6 cost Leviathans, and you've got your like
Mhm.
Kusits, and they're all in the break. So you like when you draw them early, you're like, well, I don't really want to use this now. I'm just gonna like discard it now, and
Yeah.
maybe later on I'll like remove it from game for an Une. What Aiko kind of does is she like says, hey, these all have bursts. Let's shuffle them back into the deck and put 4 random cards into the break zone instead.
Y-
So you kind of
Yeah.
get to like restack your deck with all your early bursts that you drew. And then you also just get to randomly spike an arc sometimes. And what that actually ends up doing sometimes when you play against like a monocolor deck, it gives you like another way of making those arcs useful.
Hmm.
Especially sometimes like I played against like a mono water deck with this before, and I milled past 2 chaoses when I had one in hand. I was like, oh, thank goodness. Ico,
Yeah, you're like, whew,
you're a
don't mind if I
savior.
do.
So I really like this card. She's a little bit high rolly, and there's not a ton of like even if you cast Lev 6 off of it, you're only getting a 2 CP discount, which like isn't the best. But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something really fun about like saying like, all those 3 Leviathan 6s that I discarded that I drew early, unfortunately, they're
Right.
going
Yeah.
back in the deck, baby. Good luck. Let's see how this goes.
That is a fun ad. I didn't even think about that aspect of like potentially resetting the bursts in there. That's cool.
Yeah, really, really cool card. The pre-release promo of this is gorgeous. It's one of like this and the Kuja Apparently, this is from like old anniversary art that Ito Hana-san did,
Okay.
and
Is it full art?
the Aiko is in full art. The Kuja isn't because the Aiko
Gotcha.
is the
Okay.
pre-release promo. But like it's gorgeous in person. Highly recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't think they've ever done a mono art, or I guess this isn't a mono, but yeah, that's cool.
Um, let's go on ahead. Let's talk about Tifa.
Tifa, let's see what she is. This one I don't know. Martial artist brave, of course. Tifa usually is. 4 cost 9k. If you control Zangan, her master, you can discard a card instead of special when paying. Okay, so it's kind of like that Prish from, I think it was Opus 17. But she only has one effect then. Relentless Rush. Choose a 4, deal 8,000 damage. If you control a card named Cloud, also activate Tifa. Huh. So obviously, you get Tifa on the board. You wait a turn so she can attack. You attack. You declare the attack. She's brave, so she stays active. On the stack, you can then dull her, discard anything, hit something for 8k, and if you have Cloud, she'll stand back up, and you can essentially just do it as much as you want, assuming you have both Cloud, Zangan, and the cards in hand. I mean, that's cool. That's my kind of effect. That does sound like a lot of pieces to line up, and if you control, so Zangan's just a field ability, and then the Cloud is tied to the special. So I guess if they remove the Cloud in response, she wouldn't activate, right?
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I love the way it sounds. Like I said, that kind of gives me Edgar Sabin flashbacks of like, yeah, let me just pop off all these specials. But it does sound like a lot of pieces to line up. So I'm guessing this is probably too clunky to be consistent.
does it help if I tell you that Opus One Zangan starter both gives her haste and searches her?
Oh, that's right. I forgot Zangan had a backup. I saw the forward one, and that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that makes a huge difference then. And you could do a Cloud backup too if you really wanted to, like both Cloud and Zangan then have backups. In my head, I was thinking they were both forwards. Yeah, that's a huge difference. I totally forgot about that Zangan that gives the haste and searches her out.
Yeah.
Okay, well with that, it's got to be really good then.
She hasn't seen a bunch of play. Actually, the Zangan above also gives her the ability to use her special as though she had haste. And he actually has a really neat
Oh,
ability
okay.
himself. He plays a Tifa, cost 5 for free when you play him. And then you can dole him to do damage for each martial artist you control. He does 5k for each martial artist. So the idea in this set was you go Zangan free plays Tifa, Zangan doles does 10k to one thing because you control 2 martial artists, and then Tifa, you discard a card, do 8k to another.
Okay.
And then like the other thing you can do is you can play the Zangan backup, and that gives Tifa both haste and the ability to do her special without doing anything. I mean, the biggest thing that's kind of holding her back right now is there's just not really a home that wants to do that. Um, the new forward is a little bit clunky if you want to play like Zangan forward with her. Like you gotta like find the 2 cards and like it's like decent when you line it up, but like not that much better than like Emmett Selk into like Ingus if you're in Mono Earth. And the problem with like the Zangan backup is there's just not really a Fire Earth deck, right?
Yeah,
So like
that
you
makes
can
sense.
maybe do like a 4 color FF7 deck, but like that's competing with like Refia at that point and all the other like really good 4 color decks, right? So hasn't seen a ton of
I know
play.
I was feeling this in. Oh, I was gonna say, I know I was feeling this in Opus 17 with Sabin that 8K. We always it struggled with 9Ks, right? Is that also kind of true of Tifa that sometimes that 8K just isn't quite enough?
Um, a little bit, yeah. I mean, like it doesn't kill Tyvis in one shot is a big one, but like being able to like discard a card to kill a Laswell is always really nice, right?
Yeah, true.
Discard a card, kill a Refia is good. Like, there's definitely like good things about it. Her body's huge. She's a 4 CP, 9k brave, so she's kind of good on both ends of the spectrum there. It really is just more so getting the pieces in the right type of a shell. That shell just doesn't really exist. It's kind of funny. There's like 5 cards in this set that are built around this Tifa in particular. They have like this whole mini archetype around her. There's a Johnny that like draws and activates himself when you play Tifa. Sheeran, if you like gets a cat 7 character in your break zone back to hand, but if it's Tifa, then you reduce the cost of it by 3. So like she costs 1 now. There's like a gazillion cards built around this Tifa in particular, and she's okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into Lightning a little bit here. So in Lightning we have Let's talk about Aphmau a little bit for a common. I think this one's kind of a fun common.
Yeah, but I was actually just reading this. I love the first ability, unless you've just played her onto an empty field and then they have some non-forward way to get rid of her. She essentially is always going to get you value. It'd be very hard for them to dodge that effect. And then those emergency effects that are just kind of always there, something your opponent has to keep track of. Those are always, or at least in the past, those have always been very strong. Haha, surprise, dull for victory because you forgot this was hanging out in my break zone. So and it's not restricted either. Like you can always tell when it's a character they like. So how many cards of these have we seen that like it's got to be during your main phase and only during your turn and yada yada yada. And this one just says nope, just do it. So yeah, she was really strong.
Yeah, I like if you think about what this ends up being, when she's in your break zone, she's a one cost lightning summon that says Dole forward, and like that's not a good card, obviously, but like when you just like accidentally create that for this card, discarding to pay for a better card,
Hmm.
it's interesting at least, right? I will say I don't think she's seen any play this set, but I wouldn't be surprised to see like, especially if there's like another like chaos style stealth mill deck in the future. Like just
Yeah.
having like that one extra thing, and there is no restrictions on this. You can like your opponent goes to combat, you dull their Axstar so it doesn't get to attack this turn, right? Like
Hmm.
it's really interesting. All right, where do we want to go next? I played Turks with you a lot. Let's look at Elena real quick.
Elena. Oh, we finally got a new Elena. Holy moly. We're not using that old crummy Opus 11 one. So two for each. Remember the Turks. It no can't become zero, so she can be completely free. That's awesome. Haste, of course. Only damage three, dealt damage by a forward opponent. Deal that forward. Huh. That's kind of weird. I guess. I guess with if you're playing Seng, she'll get bumped up power wise too.
Hmm.
But it's specifically the forward that deals her damage. So even in combat,
It kind
I
of makes
guess
her
it would let
trade
her
up in
trade up to
combat,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, essentially. I'm kind of underwhelmed that that's damage three. However, a free hasted Turk can't be bad. I don't know if people are still trying to do the old like Unga Bunga Opus 15 kind of style of Turk or if it's evolved at all or what. But it's nice to at least see a new Elena, although I have to admit, I don't know, I'm a little underwhelmed by her.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is like a free hasted forward in Turk specifically is kind of a big deal when you factor in like there's like the multi-attacking Cisne. So you can go like
Hmm.
any Turk into Cisne and then play Elena for free, and then like Elena now represents two attacks. Um, it does mean the Turks are still doing the same thing they've always done, which is like try to kill you in like three turns and like what's turn five,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do like the card. The art is incredible on this one. The artist for it's
Yeah.
the same one that
It's
does
really
the
good.
Ever Crisis character art.
Oh, nice.
Let's look at Vivian as well. Actually, another one of kind of a little pocket of heroes here.
So
Actually,
she's from 16. Priming cost, pay with CP of any element. Okay, enters the field, choose category 16 for your break zone, add to hand, pretty common effect. And anytime a character you control is priming. It's interesting it says character. As far as to my knowledge, no backups currently prime.
no backups
They're all
prime
forwards.
currently.
But in theory, if one comes out in the future, this does affect it. Um, Yeah, I remember when Torgal came out, like it was a cool idea, but I don't think there were any decks like completely built around priming, kind of like he wanted you to be. So I don't know if that exists. Obviously, if there are, this is a huge payoff if you can get prime after prime after prime. But if you're only trying to prime like a single Clive or a Joshua or a Jill, is this really worth it? I don't think so. So I would imagine this is just dependent on how strong a priming type of deck is.
I would say Torgal's biggest use historically was allowing mono ice to splash Clive.
That
Like
makes sense.
that's been really good historically. Vivian has seen a bit of people trying it. Like it is really strong in theory to like have this backup that draws a card every time you prime. Kind of like you get like the Dion effect, but not on a forward that goes away the moment you prime it too.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest issue that I've had with Vivian is just like priming is so slot intensive. If you think about like how many forwards can you
Yeah.
realistically play in a 50 card deck, so if you want to play, maybe you play 15 backups, you play 8 summons, that's like 25 slots for forwards, right? By the time you're done.
Yeah.
And if every one of those forwards takes 6 slots because you need 2 copies of them for, their normal form plus the thing they prime into, you kind of just run out of space really quickly. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
the other thing that's kind of big with Vivian, unfortunately, is that like lightning also the only it's Sidolphus and Ramu, and that needs you to play summons as well if you're like using her in lightning. So you kind of end up
You're
with this
asking
like
for a lot of slots there.
yeah. So like there's just kind of a, like it's really slot intensive for what it is, especially like then you have to like be this like weird tricolor deck. So I haven't seen her be amazing, but she's definitely a card that people were really excited for and tried a lot over the course of the set. Let's look at Vritra, who is our first Lightning Legend.
Yeah, so this was one of my favorite characters in the Endwalker storyline. I pretty much love all the dragons, Svaralsvegar and Nidhogg. I was a big fan of Vitra as well, so I was really excited to see this card. I love that it just has the summon protection. It's very thematic. The entry effect like is kind of weird because it's not even, or it is till the end of your opponent's turn. So I guess it gives it like one turn of protection. Um, and then when any lightning forward controls attacks, choose an opponent's dull it and deal it 7,000 damage, which could be good, I guess. Knock out a Laswell. I mean, I love that it affects any lightning forward, and I do appreciate the protection from summons. Obviously, if it was protected against abilities, that'd probably be too strong. So at least it gives you a whole turn to let it sit there. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's the number 7,000. There's something about this that underwhelms me, and I don't think I can quite put my finger on it.
It's really hard to say how good or not this card is. Lightning really has not been in a great spot. So there's just not a lot of like decks that would want to play this right now, especially like it's only when the lightning forward attacks. So if you're playing like water lightning is the most common way lightning is played right now.
Oh yeah.
But you have a lot of water forwards in that deck, and they don't do anything when Breacher attacks. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really excited for this card even in that situation, just because to me it reminds me a lot of the Limit Break Edge, the Lightning Legend LB,
Yeah, I thought of
and
him too.
that card I don't even sleeve up anymore. Like if I'm playing a mono lightning deck, it just doesn't even go in the deck anymore. So like it's
Do you
better.
think it's just because the damage is too low, or it's just too situational, or?
It's a combination of effects for me. The damage being too low is a big one. 7K doesn't really clear a lot of things. Like if you're in lightning and you need to kill something with 7,000 power, you can usually just cloud LB, right? Like there's
Yeah,
so many ways of
right.
killing those small forwards that like it doesn't really matter in my experience that you're doing 7K. Like you need like two attacks to like make it really a thing, but like if you have the ability to go like Vritra or Edge and still have two forwards that can attack, what do you need the Vritra for?
Yeah,
It's
that's a
kind
great
of
point. Yeah, and I find it weird that like the dull and 7K is combined into one. Like maybe if it dulled one thing and then shot another for 7, that'd be, way different, but
so it's like to me it reads better than Edge, but not so much better that I'm like excited to build around and like make him a part of my decks, if that makes sense.
Mhm,
And like again, Edge is a
absolutely.
card that like I've actually played a lot of mono lightning control, and I don't even put Edge in that deck. So
Mm,
um, I'm gonna hold off on Sarah, but we will come back to Sarah. So open her up in another
okay.
window just in case, because you're gonna need that one. Let's look at
All right,
Freya.
bookmarker.
If
Freya.
not,
Ooh, look at that art.
yeah, if nothing else for the art.
Let's see. Oh, we have a dragoon. So haste, of course, attacks for opponent. Deal it 2. Okay, so it's kind of like her old cherry blossom, just on attack. Dragon's Crest. Choose a 4. Deal 20,000 damage for each drop card in your break zone. Oh, so there's one for the break zone and there's one for what you control. That's interesting. Man, are we still beholden to Opus 3 Freya? Like, if dragoons is a thing, Cherry Blossom was always like the unfair thing that deck could do, right? If that was its big board wipe, along with Alice, I guess you would argue is the other point that card draw it got. Like this card's cool. I love the art. It's actually statted correctly. It's a 4 cost 8K. Haste is never bad. Um, and
Attack.
in theory, it could threaten to ping something off every turn, and you don't have to pay the cherry blossom cost. And I do kind of like the duality of control, and then you get the break zone effect for the dragon's crest. So I do think this is cool, but does it replace cherry blossom Freya? I can't imagine it does, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe you play it alongside it. I don't know. It's a
It's
cool
notable.
card.
They
I like
both
it.
have specials like this. Like Dragon's Crest and Cherry
Yeah,
Blossom are both special. So like whichever one is on field, if you top deck any Freya, you're probably feeling pretty okay, right? Like that's pretty decent.
yeah.
Are you ready for the most
Have you
shocking
seen that play?
sentence you've ever heard?
All right, hit me with it.
Dragoons are actually like on the fringes of meta play because of this card.
Really
I have a friend that
interesting.
I'm going to be seeing in Japan at the World Championships because of this card. Because he took Dragoons and
Wow.
Warriors as his two decks to U.S. Nationals and qualified for the World Championship.
Is it the special or is it just like the free removal or?
It's everything. It's having a Freya with text that's not the Cherry Blossom one. You kind of end up in the situation where, like, if your opponent has a small board, this is the better Freya. But if they have a big board, then you can
Mm,
go for the Cherry Blossom instead. But like if they have a small board, you have this. It does damage. It kills a thing. Threatens to do things going forward. Dragon's Crest is an absurd special. When you think about, like, because of Alice, you have to have 47 Dragoons in your deck, 42 Dragoons in your deck.
right.
So basically, this just says do 2,000 damage for each card in your break zone. And
Yeah, which is
also,
huge.
you're discarding a Freya to activate that, so that's another 2K guaranteed, right?
Right.
Yeah, Dragoons are randomly, like, out of nowhere, they went from being a deck that nobody cared about to being one of the best tribal decks in the game, and the only thing that really changed is this Freya. I would also point out there's the
Huh.
Kane LB. It's a 9 cost LB, but if you control 3 Dragoons, its cost is reduced by 5. So it's a 4 cost forward with First Strike that picks up a forward in your break zone. So you kind of have more access to Freya than ever before, and like Kane is
Nice.
by far the cheapest LB with that effect. If you think about it, it's like playing a 2 CP forward that picks up any forward in your break zone when you play him.
Yeah.
So
Nice. That's cool.
yeah, no, Freya it completely turned that deck around. Also notable, this Dragoon backup, the 4 cost one down here, is also being played in the
Hmm.
deck as well, and also like very impactful.
Okay.
Um, get
Very
you get a
nice.
you get a standard unit in your hand, and then if you have 3 Dragoons, you just get to play it instead of adding it to your hand. So this just like plays the haste Dragoon from the break zone, or like the big
Yeah,
Dragoon.
that's sick.
So yeah, Dragoons actually out of nowhere, kind of like tiered meta contention.
Oh, that's really cool.
And also this art in full art especially is gorgeous. Like the
Oh,
tapestry
I'm sure.
style,
Yeah, I
it's
love the,
so
the
neat.
it looks so cool.
So let's talk about Lightning. This is a card that they were so confident in. It actually is a full art, despite breaking the full art rules. This is not new art for the game, and it comes in full art. That's only happened one other time,
Really?
in it. I can only think of one other time they've done that, which was for Opus 19 Sarah Mobius of all things, that broke the normal full art rules.
So funny. So I actually read that this was a card of the week, wasn't it? I feel like I remember reading an
Yep,
article
this was a
about
card of
it.
the week. This is one of
Um,
the. I was trying to tell you, this is
yeah.
one of the most hyped cards of the set.
I mean, I remember I loved the sound of the effect when I read it the first time. So let me do a quick refresher. Haste. Forming a party deals damage to the opponent. Damage becomes 2 instead. Really piles it on. When lightning attacks, you may play one category 13 forward of 6 or less from your hand onto the field dull. Forming a party with lightning and attacking, you can play a forward of any element at the end of the turn. Okay, so it's kind of like that's right. That's what this may remind me of. For anyone who's played Magic, there's a power in that game called ninjutsu, and essentially it involves ninjas. When you attack, they like swap out. They come in, they hit you, and then they like run away, kind of thing. Or maybe you have to pay again for the ninjutsu. That's what this made me think of. I thought this was super sick when I read it. I was always in favor of the party decks. Like I love the old Bart Spoko Una stuff. I love party attack decks. So I thought this sounded really cool, and as always, I just knew that well, it'll just depend on what is her support, right? Obviously, if there's nothing good for her to play, probably not going to see it. However, I know what the Sarah says above too with the damage, and that just sounds freaking broken. Like the Sarah, you're gonna break so many cards and then do all this damage out of nowhere. Like surely this has to be bonkers, right? Unless the 6K power is just holding it back for some crazy reason. Like it sounds insane, especially with the Sarah.
Let's say with the Sarah as well. Like, let's say you have another 13 forward. You attack with Lightning. Lightning plays Sarah for free. They're party attacking. You have Sarah enter, so she pops something. Then you have three
Yeah.
Cat 13 forward, so Sarah can burn your opponent for a point of damage, which means that Sarah deals them a point of damage, which means that she pops something. And then she does the damage in the party attack, which means she does damage again, which means she pops something.
Oh my god.
Are you ready for the
And then that
funniest?
damage becomes 2. Does that matter?
Yes, she doesn't pop 2 forwards. It's only 1 instance of damage. But you've also done your opponent 3 points
Okay,
of damage, killed 3 forwards. Are you ready for the funniest statement? This deck isn't
please.
tiered.
It's terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's not tiered.
Really? Is it just too like needs too many pieces, or it's too easy to stop, or what holds it back?
There's a lot of things. So something that ended up happening with this card is she kind of loses to everything, which you know, if your opponent goes to combat and she gets Cucullen, she doesn't work. Um, but it's not
Oh,
even
yeah.
that. If she attacks and they say, like I'm gonna on, I'm gonna ability to play the forward, and they kill her, she doesn't get to play the forward because it has to join up. It has to be joining into a party.
Oh, really? Oh,
So
I
if
didn't
lightning doesn't
realize that.
live,
I thought
she
the
just
forward would still come in.
um and something else is she can't she doesn't have anything she could do to like a Tyvis or an Ifrit. Like you have to like specifically like play a Caius or something to like get something to like deal with a 9k 5 cost. And like those the difference between like lightning playing Sarah or like there's a snow that like when it's played by lightning you draw and they discard, which is like crazy, if you think about it,
Uh-huh.
like you take 2 damage, I draw, you discard, and then snow goes back to my hand to like do it again next turn. Like that's like super broken, right?
Uh-huh.
But like, are you gonna like just run lightning into their Ifrit and die? And like they'll happily kill the lightning for their Ifrit and not take 2 damage, right?
Yeah, I guess I just assumed that the Sarah like clears out the blockers, so that way you don't have to worry about it. But
But Sarah only gets
obviously,
cost
you also
4 or
have to have enough.
less,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
she
that's true too. Yeah. Okay,
so
that's right.
so she can't
It's
kill
not
like
just
a
breaking
Tyvis or
everything.
anything. So like every time I was playing this deck, I would see my opponent would just like play Clive Ifrit, prime it, kill something, and then just not even attack. It's like I dare you. Like what are you gonna do to me? Like
Right.
and then like the entire time they're also threatening the special. You're in lightning. You don't necessarily have that removal for this big 10k, and you just kind of would lose the game for like what you're doing. She reads absurd, and I've messed around with her in a lot of shells. I played her in Ice Lightning, I played her in Water Lightning, I played a dedicated 13 deck, and in all of those, she was fine. But like she never felt necessarily worth the slots, or like worth
Huh.
how difficult it was to like line things up. And it's even funnier than you think because not only is Snow one of the best things to play with her. If you think about like what again, I do 2 damage to you, I draw, you discard, and then like the Snow goes back to hand. So even if I get board wiped, I just lose the lightning.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Snow LB, which is an Ice LB that costs 5 that searches for a lightning or a Sarah.
Huh.
So you have an LB searcher for either of these cards that lines the whole thing up for you. And I still don't
And
feel
it's
great
still not
playing.
worth it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's one of the biggest misses from the community as far as like everybody read this card. It's like, no, this card's crazy. It's broken. It'll be good. And it turns out it's just better to be playing different decks right now.
Huh.
All right, let's go into water a little bit. Let's talk Ashdaya, which is our first water legend.
I should. Here we go. Oh yeah, this is Vitra's sister
Yeah.
that you are going. Spoilers for Endwalker if anyone hasn't done that yet. Okay, so the first brood, similar to her brother, cannot be chosen by summons. Gains. Okay, so it's legit the exact same effect. Protection until next turn. When a water forward you control attacks, choose a forward opponent controls, return it to its owner's hand. That's definitely more appealing than the Vitra effect. Not only is I know mono water is a much stronger deck. That's just that guarantees gets it off the field, right? Even though I know bounce historically isn't like as strong as just straight removal, it's better than the dull, and then maybe it's still sitting there. So, um, man, but mono water is so good, right? Like, and I even saw that list you sent me, and this card wasn't anywhere there near it. So I don't think that this is one of those strange cards that like I don't think anything about it reads poorly, but also I don't see it seen play. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's not saying it's not a play. I will say I think it's better than Vritra. Like I've seen it be before. Like I'm gonna bounce 5 forwards and like completely ruin their day.
Yeah.
But again, 5 cost for this. Like, is it really worth paying 5 for this when you can either play a realm or like a Gao or like if you have to do like a revival thing, are you ever doing this over like Leviathan or a different card we might talk about in a little bit? Probably not, right? So that's kind of where it's currently sitting.
It's also kind of dumb that like the way the entry effect works, it still uses the stack. So like if they had a Refia, they could be like, okay, well before it's immune, I'll Refia it anyway. Like I always hated effects like that.
Yeah, one weird downside of Final Fantasy is there is no templating for cards entering with abilities. So either they have the ability or
Yeah,
they have to gain it on entry.
yeah.
So let's talk about Iodolus.
Oh, we haven't seen him in a minute. Okay. Little 15 love. 6 cost Emperor, not the fire version, of course. When he enters the field, choose a category 15 forward of cost 5 or less in your. Okay, so very similar to the fire version. It just has to be cat 15, no restriction. And then into the break zone, turn it to its owner's hand. Nice. I've always liked backups like this. I like that when they have a really strong entry effect and then they have that dull and break for later in the game. We've seen that on Sarah FFL, the old Minfilia for Scions. Like, yeah, the old Idolus, the 7K ping. Like, this is cool. I don't know how relevant it is because it would really depend on what his 15 target is that he's trying to get back. But I like this card. He seems cool. What's if he's used? You'll have to tell me what the 15 target is.
Uh, are you ready for this? This card kind of brought back an old deck. Made it
Is
into
it the
a
retainers?
no, not retainers, but there is a tiered meta deck that plays this, and it is Verstale.
Oh
Verstale is Cat
yeah, Verstale's
15.
Cat 15, isn't he?
This is a card that
That's
both
right.
plays
I forgot about
Verstale
that.
and is a hit for Verstale. I don't remember if you remember. There's that Casino Arden as well, the 5 cost like Dissidia Arden that like you sack 2 backups and then you spin.
Yeah.
He revives that
Yeah.
also.
Wow. That's right. Wow, yeah, it's been so long since I've thought about Verstale. That's cool. Okay, okay.
Uh,
I'm on board.
and I always laugh. The Steve D points out Idolus giving himself a head pat.
Yeah, yeah, he really, yeah, yeah, yeah. Idolus approves of himself. Congratulating him. That is really funny. I like that. Is Verstale actually good, or was it like people just more played it for fun?
You're another person you've interacted with. Alex Hancock took this to second place in a Materia Cup in
Really?
Europe,
Nice.
losing only to Knights in
That's
the
really cool.
finals in a very close 2-1. But yeah, no, this
Is that
card,
streamed? I'll have to find that match somewhere.
yeah, it was streamed.
Excellent.
All right.
I can't not see him patting himself on the head now. That's really funny.
Yeah, at the Materia Cup in Gold Coast, 2 copies of this made it to top 8 as well. Kind of a fun.
Nice.
Yeah, no, a good deck out of nowhere for Stale. Um, I'll point out Sylvester real quick, just to say this searches for a light forward and then plays a 3 cost. Gigawall immediately saw this and went, "Ooh, gimme!" Search Gigawall, play Ishtola
Yeah.
to then protect the Gigawall next turn, or like play Mog off of this is really
Wow.
powerful.
Yeah, that's really good for a 6 cost backup. Jeez.
Um, talked about Naimea. So Tidus, this EX burst search Yuna was expected to be really scary when it was first revealed. People nearly lost their shit. This caused like a borderline riot on Twitter because this was revealed in the middle of like the tier 0 Yuna format.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, they'll light you know.
And this both searches Yuna and protects her and is a forward.
Oh wow, yeah, he redirects it. That's kind of crazy. Very
And then
thematic though.
like literally like the day after they announced this, they announced the bans for L3 and didn't announce the bans for standard. So people were like, "You're gonna ban
Oh,
for
okay.
L3, reveal this Tidus, and tell us to just go on with the set like nothing's happened. What is going on there?" Um,
Enjoy your light Una, fools.
yeah, they banned Light Yuna like 3 days later. They even said like they like accelerated the announcement on it because they like realized how badly they messed up their timing on the announcement for the L3 because they were trying to get the L3 bans out sooner because they wanted people to get prepared for an L3 tournament in Japan. But like it came off as really tone deaf
Gotcha.
by like the way it translated into English of like there are no bans to announce for standard at this time. We know or whatever. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at Azura.
There he is. Oh, so Primal 14. Do you ever fight Asura in 14? Did I miss that
She's
fight?
I think she's one of the Endwalker bosses.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't remember that. All right, so she enters the field. One any character. When you do so, all the forwards. Oh, that's kind of neat. A little board wipe. Tax. Choose up to 6 forwards. They lose 4,000. That's very specific, but I guess it goes with her arms.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool. It kind of sucks she dies to Amaterasu. Like, I really would have preferred 9K for an effect like this, but maybe that's why they wanted you to be able to cancel it. Returning your own stuff, though, is very strong. Especially you can do a character, you can do a forward that you want to protect, you can do a monster if you want to abuse it. So you may return. So I believe if my memory of FF rules is correct, if they were to kill the character on the stack, then the effect just fizzles at that point, right?
So
She
this
needs
doesn't
to be able to
target.
bounce it to.
This doesn't target.
Oh, it doesn't.
You may return one
Oh,
character.
okay, you're
So
right.
you
And
just put on the stack. I'm going to return a character to my hand, and unless they can
that's
kill
right. They
every,
have to act right then.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And then it's
Okay.
a when you do
I
so.
mean,
So once you return it, they could technically unmot after you do the return too.
this I really like the way this sounds. Like I love the 8K power reduction. That's so cool. Is this better than like Lena Leviathan or any of the other big board wipes we have? I can't imagine it is. Um, so just for that alone, I'm gonna assume this didn't really see much play, but it sounds cool. I just think it's kind of a fun card.
Yeah, I would say like probably if I were to evaluate it, I would call this kind of like a side grade to like Lena Leviathan. Like you could do Lena revive this, bounce the Lena back to hand, and like the advantage there
Oh, okay.
is like what ends up happening because like I notice this a lot when playing with Lena Leviathan is because you bounce a backup and a forward to their hand, your opponent kind of starts their next turn with like 8 cards in hand, 9 cards. You know, it feels like so many extra cards in hand.
Yeah.
And this kind of gets around that by only doing the board wipe effect. So she's not nearly as strong as Leviathan. She doesn't have like kind of the same level of continued value. She kind of says like you win combat while she's on field, but like who cares? It's combat. They shouldn't be blocking anyway, right?
Right.
I do like the thematics of like the 6 swords, each one kind of like stunning an enemy a little bit, so she gets to attack more
Yeah,
safely.
that's cool.
Like, very neat card in that regard. I don't think she's seen a ton of play. I wouldn't be surprised to see her show up in the future though, especially like as a one of in specific decks.
Can you, real quick, with the 6 forwards, can you choose the same forward twice?
You cannot.
Okay, you can't. I couldn't remember if FF had like different forward wording, so
No, it would say choose. If it was if you choose the same one, it would tell you you could choose the same one twice if it was doing that. But
gotcha.
yeah, you can't use it to like be continued removal. That would be crazy if you could. Probably not even
Yeah,
broken, honestly. But I get why they would, not want that to happen.
yeah.
Let's talk about Lena. Let's talk about our other water legend.
And Princess, Warrior of Light, always good jobs to have. Enters the field. If you control Ferris, you get both effects. Your opponent selects 4 they control, put it in the break zone, and search for any Warrior of Light. Oh, geez, that sounds really strong. I mean, even if you don't get the first effect, like again, this is one of those cards that if I drew poorly, didn't have backups when I was playing Warriors of Light, you just slap this out turn 1, and then you go get, Ingus or Lunith or King Tycoon wasn't a Warrior of Light, but you could even get herself, right? Yeah, you just go get another copy of Lena. You go get the Ferris, like, and then if you happen to get the second effect too, that's just a pure bonus. So this just sounds Lena. I mean, it's no surprise. Lena, they love this character because she always gets great cards. So this sounds equally just as good.
Yeah. So fun fact. Refia currently, at least my build, I'm still playing the 3 backup Lenas. Obviously, the card's very strong. I'm still playing one copy of this card. For
Well, she
multiple
got the
reasons.
special too.
Yeah, so the special on the backup Lena is huge, and actually having a forward that's named Lena for that special is actually really relevant. A card like Kryl, for instance, can pick up this Lena and add it back to your hand, so that now you have the special live still.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So like any kind of like a Kusith effect, a lot of times I'll pick up this Lena from the break zone again as the Kusith effect because it's also cheaper to like use this than it is to like even pick up a Refia and cast it sometimes. Like if you're doing that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's
and
cool.
something else that happens is your opponent sometimes they'll go turn 1, they'll play a Charlotte, they'll try to stun you out, and you go, well, I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to play this Lena, and I'm going to just make you sack the forward. And sure, we're both hurting a little bit, but like your big thing that you invested all your stuff into died, and I, have an 8K blocker for early game now.
Yeah.
And um, so I really like this card. I do think that she's probably even underplayed as just like a 3 of next to the new Ferris, where it's like I'm going to search and make you stack something. Um, there's also a Ferris backup, and as you mentioned, she can search herself, which I think is really funny. Um, there's a water Ferris backup that you can even play with her too. But really
Oh yeah,
cool,
that's true.
really neat card. And yeah, sees a little bit of play. Light and Dark Legends. Let's talk Rala.
Okay, how is this not Heidelin? First of all, is my first complaint. Like, how is Zodiark going to be the Dark Legend and Heidelin's not the light one? Nonetheless, I don't know if this card is good, but I adore this effect. I think it's so cool. I love the perpetual chain. It says that's like, hey, you take damage while I'm active. I become dull. Boop. I take something off your field. Oh, and then I just pay two and reactivate myself. And I just do that ad nauseum. Is that any good? I don't know. Probably not because it's very specific. Obviously, they could just do something to get rid of this character. But I think the effect's cool, and I love that it's not even just tied to Rala's effect, right? Hey, if they dull freeze it, and active Rala has become dull, so the effect still triggers. So I think this card is such cool design. I don't know if it saw any play because there's so many bonker stuff to play in FFTCG, but I love the design of this card.
Oh, it's not even that hard. If you attack with Rala, he is now active and now dull.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So this card has seen a little bit of play and a little bit of people messing around with it. It actually shows up a decent bit in like I've seen dancers mess with it because you can use Lilithset to dull it, and then you turn a Lilithset dull
Oh,
into popping something.
that's cool.
Any kind of like a really slow defensive deck can kind of consider this card. However, it doesn't stick nearly as often as you would hope, and when it doesn't stick, it feels really bad.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like Refia can spin it, or any number of other ways of getting it off the field. But if you can protect this, it does basically stop the game.
Right. Oh yeah, I can't imagine how they break through this.
Because yeah, in like that two activate Royale, you could just discard a card. Like as long as you have cards in hand to discard, you never take a point of damage. And every single time
Hmm.
they go in, you kill something. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, very strong, very interesting card, but not one with a very clear home at the moment. Let's take a
Yeah.
look at Zodiark real quick.
Yeah, because my no, Lord knows they did my boy Arden dirty. Can't ever let him get a good card. All right, Zodiark. Haste. Oh, you don't see that on dark cards if often, if ever. Well, I guess Feral Chaos had it. So you can exert, put a forward into the break zone, choose a forward, remove it from the game. Your opponent removes one card in their hand. Oh, wow. That's pretty strong. So you have to give up one of your own, but you just RFG one of theirs. And they do get to pick the card, it's not random, but still, that's very strong. Or second effect, remove all the cards your opponent's breaks from. Okay, so it's basically the Mist Dragon effect. Huh. That's pretty cool. And the haste means that he doesn't create a stack on entry. He could attack if you need him to, but it also means he can immediately activate either of these effects. God, that first one's so strong.
It's
And
brutal,
it's
isn't
not
it?
even limited to once per turn. Like, so if you could reactivate him I don't know how likely that is, but only the once per turn is limited to the second one. Yeah, I feel like the second one's just kind of the bonus when you need it, but remove it from the game, your opponent removes. That's so good. That's so strong. And what I like about this too is I could absolutely see you drop him and then you just pass. Like you don't have to attack and you don't have to use it that moment. And let's say even next turn they try to do something to get rid of him, you go, okay, well before you do that, now the only thing is, it does require you to have another forward. I guess he could pick himself, but then that I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it. Like, would you play a 6 cost dark card to immediately kill itself to then get rid of one single thing in a card from their hand? Maybe you would. I don't know.
I say
I
like,
don't
well, but
know.
like here's another option. You play it, you put a forward next to it, you pass. They go to kill Zodiark because they have to get him off the field, and they say like,
Right.
well, you're gonna Odin my Zodiark. I'm gonna sack himself in response, and then do the thing there.
Yeah, and obviously, if you had any kind of forward that remove from game benefit is a lot less than like going to the break zone benefit. But if you had some forward that then benefited from being RFG'd itself,
Oh no,
you
he
would
doesn't
get that
remove
bonus.
himself.
You
Like the forward you choose
no,
goes
no,
to the
no,
break
no,
zone.
no. Oh, that one does go to the break zone. Okay, so then never mind. It is, yeah. If you have a forward that benefits from going to the break zone, that's even more power. I mean, it sounds great. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't see play just because like it's too clunky to line all that up. But that first effect just sounds so strong.
Do you want to see the dream? Uh,
Yeah, hit me with the dream.
Type in Svene.
Vene, how do you spell that?
Uh,
Or here, pull it
SP.
up for me.
Yeah, SP. It's a starter card from the most recent starter.
Oh, it's Sphene. Oh, yeah, this is Sphene from 14. She's in Dawntrail.
I haven't played
Okay,
Dawn
all
Trail,
cards in
so
your oh, you're good. Yeah, yeah. So Queen Sphene is how they pronounce her name. All cards in your break zone cannot be removed from the game by your opponent's summons or abilities. Okay, so it's got like the Lena effect. Choose one forward other than card name Sphene put in your break zone from the field during this turn. Add it to your hand. Choose a forward other than herself. Okay, so essentially, if you had Sphene, Zodiark, Ishtola, let's say, the Ishtola goes to the break zone, Zodiark triggers, Sphene just then immediately pulls it back, and you essentially can end this loop. But that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously you're adding more pieces to the pie, but still, that's really cool.
yeah, I would say Zodiark is pretty cool. It did see a bit of play. It actually showed up in the Verstale deck that Alex Hancock's played as a way of both getting
Nice.
your Verstale and your Arden off the field after they did their thing. But like it is very brutal.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, turn the old Verstale. Yeah, try to get him out for a new one. That's really cool.
Um, now the downside is he's a 6 cost dark forward.
Right.
like, so like how many of this can you afford to realistically play? You can't really play 3 of this guy. In most situations. Two, you're still going to brick on him sometimes. I think in the finals, if you ever go back and watch it, Hancock's lost because he had like Zodiark on hand and couldn't do some of the plays he wanted to do. But
Oh,
the effect
geez.
is so brutal. Like, remove a forward from
Yeah,
the game and
absolutely.
remove a card from their hand from the game. Like, attack their hand, attack their field. Both RFG. Even sacking something like a Leo LB is so good here.
Yeah. No, that's quite powerful. Oh yeah, and the Leo. I forgot about the LBs. That yeah, Leo would be such a good target for that.
Yeah, just like a 1 cost forward that drew a card on entry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love that because he doesn't create a stack when he enters. Again, if you've already got the Leo there, they can't do anything about it, right? Anything they do, you've already got the setup now to send the effect off. So
Yeah, no, it's a very strong card. Even in limited, I also noticed like he kind of protects himself a little bit in a way too. Like again, because he can sack himself in response, or like if your opponent
Mhm.
has to attack to kill him, like you can just like hold him up, hold him up, hold him up, hold him up, and kind of like use him to almost protect himself by doing it. Really neat,
Yeah.
really powerful card. I expect him to see some play moving forward for sure. He's the best sack outlet we have in the game as well. Like if you really need
Yeah.
like a Golbez to die, for instance, like he's the best way of doing that in the game by far.
Yeah.
LBs, I don't think most of these saw some amount of play. The ones that saw the most play, Heretical Knight Garland is a knight. So the second knight LB now to play with Beatrix forward, which is very strong, obviously. And like Heretical Knight Garland is the name that knights ever cared about.
Yeah.
Amaranth has the same tapestry art that Freya has, but only really playable in Mono Fire.
Why does
Um,
Amaranth always cost so much? I don't get it.
I think every one of his cards costs 9. I think you might have like an early one that
Yeah.
costs 5, but
Yeah, they're all very high though. Like he never has like a cheap one.
Yuffie's seen a little bit of play in like Mono Wind. Dark Phoenix seen a little bit of play in Chaos Arc. Refia actually very very good card. Shocker, Refia getting good cards.
Choose a category. Yeah, right. Yeah, another one that they really love. Oh, and it just plays it right to the field. That's really strong.
So the most common target for this is there's an Undead Princess this set. Again, the one that's like your opponent discards and you make a crystal.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So that's like what you do is you like play Refia, revive Undead Princess, and you kind of had again. If you think about what it becomes, Refia, it's Layla Viking, but the Viking makes your opponent discard a card and make a crystal instead.
Yeah. Why is that Shantoto like infinitely worse than the other 9 cost Shantoto limit break we have?
They're kind of different. I actually think the Shantoto is not bad.
9 and they got to be active. I don't know, but I guess I'm used to the Earth board wipe.
Yeah, but like if you think about it, like it does kill two things for relatively cheap. Like again,
True.
the way I try to like conceptualize LBs a lot of time is like, okay, what would a rare do? Like a 5 cost rare that said choose 2 active forwards and break them. I could see them printing that. Okay, let's pump it up by a little
Yeah.
bit, and then you put them in the LB deck. It's probably pretty playable. Like that's kind of how I
Yeah.
really
And
like
then you
mine.
have it on demand at all times. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you think about like on demand now, your opponent they put 2 forwards in play, and like if you have game, you have game, right? Just kill the 2 and go kill
Yeah.
them. So
Fair
hasn't
point.
seen a ton of play. There's also like the Sephiroth from last set that she's competing with quite a bit, but she does say win the game when she needs to. So
True. Yeah.
I think with that, I think we have you pretty much caught up. It's been a pretty fun meta. I've really enjoyed it. I do think the only thing I would say is a lot of what's good has been good for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of things you mentioned, Gigawall and Warriors of Light, I know what you took. Ice Discard's always kind of hanging around, and that was always kind of one of my concerns with FF2 when I was departing. It was that so it always just like those just core cards are just so strong that it's really hard for these new cards to break in. Even something as busted as like that lightning sounded, but it's like, hey, for whatever reason XYZ, it just couldn't break in.
Yeah. And I think with that, we are ready to talk about the next set when it comes up. So stay
Heck
tuned for that.
yeah.
Travis, thanks for hanging out with me and chatting about this, and we will see
My
you all soon
pleasure.
in the next one. Travis, where can they find you?
Check me out at Rudro's TCG here on YouTube. I basically cover Disney Lorcana at this point, so obviously if you have no interest in that, you're probably not going to find much joy in my videos, but hey, I'm always happy to be here, and thanks for having me, Ghoul. Can't wait to review the next set of cards.
All right, I'll see you all in the next one.